Hmm. For those where it seems a little bit weird that I'm just sitting here in silence, I will explain that I'm just waiting for the words to come. Yeah, I don't have like a planned talk or planned something I'm going to say. I just read the title and then I just kind of wait for the inspiration to talk about it to come. Felici's come to join us. She's not so happy with the bed selection. She's just looking at it. Yeah, so the power of thought is so incredibly strong. It's so strong that it creates an illusion that this world is real and that you are in relationship to this world. And that's really something. It might not feel like really something when I say it. You're like, yeah, yeah, we've heard that before. But it's so incredibly powerful thought. Some even say that the whole world is made of thought, that everything is made of thought. I think they tend to believe more in the idea of this being what's that word? Holographic world. Yeah. But everything you see when there's not awakeness is a thought. You're seeing it through the lens of thought. You're seeing it as a subject which is in relation to an object, and it's happening so quickly that it's kind of almost like unconscious, that you can't see the thought. You're not like, I'm in here, the world is out there. It's kind of happening on such a deep level that the thought, in a way, is invisible. It's really miraculous, right? That we can have these like really deep unconscious thoughts that we're not even aware are there, that are creating a very specific reality. It's really something. You might have heard this many times before if you listen to a lot of non-dual videos, but it's really phenomenal that everything is mind-made. Everything is thought-made. So now you're maybe sitting in a room listening to this talk, thinking, I am listening to Lisa. I arrived in this room. And you're not really thinking it, it becomes a feeling, like that you came from somewhere and that you have to achieve something in order to be free. You have to escape something in order to be free. And this is the lie. It's all lies. It's not like lies like there's some relative truth to it, like you could relatively say you're sitting in a room on a sofa, or you're looking at a computer, but it's not the truth. It's not reality. It's not what actually is. What actually is this present that's right here. This beingness, this pure beingness that's right here, that's experiencing. That's so vulnerable. So what happens is people fall back into their thought world, to come forward and to really be here is really vulnerable. So there is a falling back into the thought world that I am somebody, I'm doing something, I'm watching Lisa. I know my reality, I can control my reality, I am safe. But none of that is really safety. You can have relative safety. If you're being chased by a lion, getting inside a house or inside some form of barrier to stop the lion, that's very sensible. So it's relative safety, but it's not really safety. Safety can only be this moment, can only be the pure being of what you are. Everything else will come and go and change and morph to different things. And it's just amazing. Like, even if you go back on my videos, so I've been posting these live streams for, I think, over 12 years now. And maybe I didn't do live streams the first 2 years. And I think there wasn't the technology then, but when the technology started, I started doing Ustreams. I think it was then. But prior to that, I did videos. And if you go through all those videos, you see how much this body's changed. Like, and sometimes I look at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's unrecognizable. But we don't notice that, when we're living with people and we're seeing people daily. But when you look back over videos, you can see the change. Yeah, there is similarities, but it's so different as well. Like, every 7 years, this body apparently is completely regenerated. It's something. I mean, this life is really weird. So why pretend? Why live your life pretending that you're something that you're not? To make others happy, to avoid pain, to avoid emotions, intimacy. This is all there is. What's happening? That's all there ever be, is what's happening. You'll never escape that, no matter how much money you get, how many children you have, how many different jobs, success you have. You're never actually going to escape this moment and what's happening. That is the one guaranteed. The pure beingness of this moment. And that's that Chitananda. Waking up to it is blissful, is, love. To wake up to it. To know that all you are is this moment and that life is happening. You don't have to make a life happen. You don't have to force life to happen. There just isness. It's like a coming forward in a way. Like when you're lost in your mind, you're kind of like hidden in the background. It's like your pure being, your consciousness, your empty looking is hidden. It's like it's sucked into a small place. And then there's this constant narration about experiencing, about what's happening. And this is about waking up to this moment, really coming back to this moment, but it's not somebody coming back. It can appear like that at first, that you put effort into putting the attention in the moment. You put effort into releasing old thoughts and lies and examining beliefs. But then it's like a movement to this, or this pure being moves forwards, and there's this natural movement to presence without you having to do it. It's just so beautiful. But here you are, and the mind wants to go off and imagine things, which is what the mind does. It's not necessarily a problem, but it's just a lie that you are found in it, that you are there. The more this is challenged, the more this is seen as not true. It's not true that there's somebody sitting there, there's somebody that exists. The more that all other thoughts are questioned and seen true, eventually leading to the body, the idea, the fundamental idea that you are the body, which is not true. There isn't somebody that is the body. There is simply presence happening. And that presence is free. That presence is alive and awake. The person isn't alive and awake. The person is a functioning that's happening. It's not actually somebody that exists. So your thinker in the head, the one that's telling the narrations of your life, of your story, isn't actually alive. It's like a recorded audible book going on, chatting to itself, with the feeling that that's who you are. Who you are is prior to that. You are the empty looking that it's appearing in, the watching that it's appearing in. And that watching is the bridge between the no-thingness and the everythingness. It's the sort of bridge to the pure being, which is nothing and everything. emptiness and form. After now reading Nisargadatta's Maharaja's book many times with people, well, not many times, we haven't completed it, but I do these book clubs, I understand better his terminology. And I think that his terminology of witnessing, I mean, he does change his terminologies, but what most people mean by witnessing, or some people mean, is the witnessing state is when there is a movement back, a waking up to that empty looking, an expansion into the no thing, the everything. The witnessing consciousness. It's not the personal awareness. What happens in the beginning is the personal awareness puts its attention in itself. And this is also called witnessing by a lot of people, the act of witnessing. So you're actively witnessing. But then eventually there is this effortless movement to witnessing, where there is just witnessing happening. There is this empty looking that doesn't belong to anyone, the pure consciousness that is no thing and everything. And there's not the identification with a person anymore. The person is appearing in pure consciousness, in the looking, or in what I think Nisargadatta calls the witnessing. The witness. And you feel like you are identified and you are someone, then what you can do is you can rest the attention in itself. So you can put the attention in the attention, or you can put the attention in the feeling of I am, or this present moment, and it's breaking the streams of thoughts that are attached to the body, a timeline, being the body, being somebody that's got to do something, problems, hate, blame, shame, guilt. So it's breaking these attachments. However, when you've got really strong attachments happening or really strong seeking happening, then you can do some form of emotional release. Everyone has their own versions of emotional release. You can look it up on the internet how to do it if you don't know. I've got a reference page with different suggestions of things. There's prana breathing, holotropic breathing, EMDR, a tree you've just heard of, TRE, do acupuncture, body work, somatic therapy. There's all different types that you could do. But when that's not so strong, then placing the attention in the attention is wisdom. What pulls, what pulls, or what creates the illusion of the person, what creates seeking and identification and separation, and what creates the movement away from the pure consciousness of what you are, is the seeking to be form, the seeking to be a body, the attempt to be a body and to stay a body, and to be the best body, to be a lovable body. And discernment about this is also helpful for the apparent person to see through the illusions of you, to have a good cognitive, what's that word? A good cognition of what the person is and how they behave and what they're seeking for. So if your mind is running a million miles at the moment, it's because there's seeking happening on an unconscious level. And the seeking is always to maintain a form, to stay alive. And the staying alive is in two categories. You're staying alive by attempting and wanting to be loved, and then you're staying alive by trying to avoid death and fear. So the seeking is on the pleasurable side, trying to get love, and on the painful side, trying to avoid death. And they're both the same in the end. They're both trying to stay a form. It might not seem like it, but when you investigate it, they're both trying to maintain you. I am somebody that is lovable. I am loved by other people. And avoiding fear. And that can be anything, the shouting from your partner, the wrath of the tax people, not turning up to work on time. And just by identifying it and seeing it, can break it. You're in company and you can see that you're lost in thought, and then you realize it's because you're trying to get the approval of the other people, and then snap. And then the attention moves back to present moment. It's like, oh yeah, breaking the daydream that you are somebody and that there's someone separate and that you have to be somebody. You do not have to be somebody. That's such fantastic news. You didn't have to be somebody, ever. What also grows is this deep trust in the beingness, the deep trust in life. This morning, something happened to Khaleesi after I gave her medication. It's like it's hardcore for her body. And I mean, she's very close to dying. She's very old. She's been very ill for 2 years. She's amazing that she's made it this long. And I sort of followed her outside, and I could see her body was like wobbling and her breathing was erratic. And then I sort of saw her wobble and lay down on the grass. It was more like a falling down than a laying down, like as if she had collapsed. And I went and sat with her, and her breathing began to get really shallow, and I could see her heart was racing. And she was sort of, her eyes were going very, like a cat, like the dogs do this too. They go, like really, when they're sitting up, they can do it when they're like really happy. She was doing that, and then she was sort of falling asleep in a funny position. And her breathing got so shallow. The thought came, okay, this is maybe when she's going to die. So I started singing to her. And And what really amazed me in that scenario was just how peaceful she was. Like she was obviously in pain and a lot of discomfort, and she was really on the edge, I think. And her natural inclination was to like really not resist it. She really relaxed. Like her eyes were really blissing out, even though her body was in pain. And I just was like, that's so beautiful if you go like this. Like I could see the beauty in it, you know, the sun wasn't fully up in the sky and there was dew on the grass and it was kind of coming through the grass. And it was sort of reflecting off the leaves. So some of the leaves were sort of illuminated and others weren't. They were dark. And there was some flies out. You know, these little flies dancing in the light. Yeah. And it's only the human that fights death and fights dying because we believe we're going to die. To Khaleesi in that moment, there was immense pain. And then the natural movement of the body was to really surrender to it, to not fight it, just really allow it to be there. I think if she could have moved, she would have moved to a safer place, like, you know, into a bush or something. But she couldn't, I don't think, move. And she didn't die. She came back again. She's come back so many times. But I did really appreciate seeing that, you know, as opposed to when I've seen humans die, it's like they really fight it. Where she really allowed it to happen. It was kind of very blissful. And then she came back. I think it was she went into a shock from the medication. I'd just given it to her. Like the body, it's a lot for the body to take, and I think it just, yeah, couldn't handle it. Okay, so we can move to questions now. It's amazing that I've spoken for half an hour. I felt like I really didn't say much. I didn't really do the title today, dissolving thoughts to dissolve the body. But basically, everything I was saying in a way was dissolving the thoughts. Just turning up to satsang is dissolving the thoughts. Like you might not think it, but this is like an active meditation in a way. It's kind of like it's challenging thoughts that are there, and then the energy is calling silence, silence, silence. Okay.